What's your I was the only one to get away story. Loads of people at a pub in my town that was notorious for not eating, so had loads of underage people in there drinking. It was their busiest night of the year and the police raided it. Most people ran out the back and some hopped the fence. The rest tried to hide in the toilets. I just sat there drinking as the police came through the pub, pulling everyone out the toilets and back inside, heading them all, and taking names and addresses. The people who had jumped the fence decided to stand on the corner just outside to wait for their friends who hadn't been so lucky, they thought. Next thing they knew, the police had come outside and started hitting everyone stood on the corner like they had inside. Myself and 2 friends, one of age, the other, like me, not yet 18, had just sat there through the entire incident, drinking our pints and joking on with some of the better natured cops. They didn't bother hitting anyone who hadn't run, so I was one of a very few of my friends who got away with it scot-free. This is beautiful. My best friend from college used to say, if you act like you own the place, you own the place. We used to do crazy stuff and no one would say a thing because we acted like nothing was wrong. I was gambling in Vegas on a Friday with friends' bachelor party coming up the next day. Playing blackjack, mostly just killing time waiting for dinner, but the table was on fire. It was a full table shortly after I sat down. I played for a couple hours and the table was all up on money, anywhere from $50,000 to $800. The $800 was me. Everyone else was literally up at least 10 grand. It's about 20 minutes before I'm supposed to meet up with someone, so I call it and head back to my room so I can shower and change for the night, head out for dinner and have a good night. The next morning, my buddies call me down to the lobby to meet up. As I get down there, out of sheer coincidence, they are talking to the dealer that was at the table when I left. She says, there he is, and points at me. Friends are like, no shit. Turns out, I was the only one that walked away from that table with $1 to my name. High school party, one of my first. I was wasted, throwing up in the basement bathroom when the cops arrived. Eventually they were let inside and stormed into the basement where everyone was hiding loudly with the lights off, with their flashlights beaming down into the dark. I want to say there were at least 30 people rounded up into the living room where they started calling parents. The host of the party saw me sitting on the mantle, having accepted my fate. She knew my dad would, literally, whoop my ass, and sent me out the window. I knocked over the grill on my way out and walked around the back of the house, through a few backyards, and to the neighborhood pool where I cuddled with some bushes for a few hours. When I saw the last cop finally leave, I sprinted back to the house and knocked on the door to be let in, scaring the shit out of the 3 survivors. A few dozen people were charged with underage drinking. Big house party. I drank the wrong drink, got rehypnol, went to my car, and passed out for the rest of the night. Everyone was on this big deck, and it collapsed. Then the cops showed up and acted like total dicks, even though people were injured. I slept in my car through the whole thing. Edit, for clarity and to answer in boxes. Was in Vancouver, BC, Canada. I suspect roofies, because I was on my second drink of the night when everything started feeling really weird. I knew something wasn't right, so decided to go out to my car and sleep it off. I barely remember this. I was informed by a friend the next day why I went out to my car. Hotboxing a truck with some friends of a friend's senior year in an empty parking lot of some park, already high as duck, when suddenly the Taco Bell we had gorged on earlier is going apeshit in my bowels and holy shit, I need a bathroom. I ran/stumbled my way to the public restroom on the other side of the parking lot. I finish, and as I'm about to walk out I see what looks like red lights illuminating the entrance. I start losing my shit. I know it's cops and everyone's high as duck. At this point I knew A, my friends are ducked, DB, B, what the duck should I do? I retreated in the farthest stall and texted my parents saying I was crashing at some dude's house. SE. Ended up falling asleep in the stall. Lines. Woke up the next morning and got another friend to pick me up. Got away. A. No one ratted me out. And that's how Taco Bell simultaneously destroyed and saved my ass at the same time. Me. I was on holiday in Bali. A policeman flagged us down as we were waiting at traffic lights on our rented mopeds. I just decided to bez it through the now green traffic lights. They got pulled and fined a fair amount for driving without a license. I felt a bit shitty afterwards, but they said they would have done the same if they had the balls to. Edit. We also had crates of booze which I didn't want taken off me. Edit. Apparently bomb it through the traffic lights was a poor choice in words. TLDR. I choose beer over my friends. Not me but a friend. This happened 20 plus years ago. Her friends were hanging out and decided to go out for pizza. She headed to the pizza place while the others headed to the other location of same pizza joint. This was before the days of common cell phones. The location that her friends went to, a guy decided to shoot up the place. I'm not sure how many were hit. She was obviously fine because she was at the other location. My first house party in college was on Halloween my freshman year. Naturally everyone was in costume and about half the people there were underage. I wasn't drinking, but my friends were. Around midnight an older guy, 40s, walked in dressed as a cop. Me, being the one of the few sobers at the party, realized he was an actual cop. I tried to convince my friends to leave, but they all said the guy was just in a costume. So I left on my own. I walked right past the cop, told him to have a good night, and walked home. I found out the next day all of my friends got tickets for underage drinking. I went to a private high school and was part of a group of about 20 people who knew about a tent hidden in the woods behind our school. People would go there and have sex after school, smoke pot and do hood rat shit. Someone got in trouble and ratted out all of us as an attempt to lessen her punishment. Apparently she was going to be expelled, and on the last day before finals we all got called down to the detention room and the dean told us that they had found drug paraphernalia and weapons, airsoft pistol, and made us all write down everything we know about the tent and who have seen at the tent. 19 people ratted out everyone in that room, including themselves, and were given pretty harsh punishments. 3 were expelled. Some were suspended into the next year and the rest got demerits. I wrote down I have no idea what you're talking about. Went and talked to the deans and said the same thing and was off the hook. I'm certain my name was on every list and I'm sure they wanted to nail me, but I denied, and I guess they were satisfied with 19 people giving themselves up. Years back in high school my buddy threw a huge party. Unfortunately, not just our usual group showed up. It was well over 100 people. Anyways, I was always on the lookout for cops or shady people. I had my reasons as to how screwed I would be had I gotten caught drinking. Sports, school, family, scholarships, etc. Close bracket. So the party goes on. More and more people we don't normally hang out with show up. So I grab my buddy and RDD and say we need to leave. Now, you can crash at my place, I don't care. Let's go. We hop into his car. That's when I throw a duffel bag of beer drunkenly into his trunk, followed by the sound of tabs popping and beer spilling. We pull out and drive away. We get a quarter mile down the road before we see 4 cop cars headed to the house. The party was immediately shut down. Countless tickets written. People kicked off sports teams or clubs. What's funny is this same scenario happened 2 other times in high school. I left a party before the cops busted everyone, and people got tickets the day before graduation. And another time I left a kickback which ended in the arrests of a few friends. My reputation still holds true. I always leave minutes before the cops arrive. Edit. Number of students in my school. I exaggerated. I graduated with 505 students, with a total school size of 2100. Was at a fish show. We had been following the tour for a while. Undercovers caught my dude rolling a blunt in the car. Then the other dude with us was coming by and throwing as many "get for son!" Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Looks I can, but they popped him for having pills when he came by. So everyone I was with, including the dude who owns the car, got arrested. Thousands of miles from home. As the smartest in the group is getting cuffed, he asks the cops to give me his keys and their tickets. So I had a pocket of concert tickets, a car that isn't mine, and like $100. Took the car, bought a couple hundred bottles of water and a few 30 packs, and went back to the concert. Sold all the water for $1 each. most of the beers, except like 15 or so I drank for $3 each, and scalped every ticket for like $120 each. Showed up at the jail with a random girl from the concert, shithouse drunk, and bailed my friends out in all ones, then bought them a hotel room. Can't leave my people behind, man. Edit. I appreciate all the nice words. Just pretend I replied to each of you individually, that I'm just doing what they would do for me. Thanks for the gold too. I don't deserve it. One time my psychology professor was in a bad mood, so he started asking everyone for their student ID. Rules say you have to show it to a uni official if they ask for it. I didn't have mine that day, and I didn't know what the punishment was, but I knew I wanted none of it. So I tried to get out of it. So what do? Applied psychology. Before he gets to me, I walk up to him and ask a question. When he comes around, he just points at me and mutters to himself that he'd already checked me. It wasn't a sure thing. If he'd asked for my ID when I asked the question, I was screwed. It required careful timing to ask the question before he saw me, so that he was already thinking about that by the time he turned to face me. In the end, something like half the class didn't have their ID that day. Turns out all they do is tell you to carry it. Turn up in the school washroom with my friends, with the lights off and music blasting out. People were hanging off the stalls and making as much noise as possible. Teacher comes in and writes our names down. She gets to me and asks, have I already written your name, and I say yes and walk away. Friends got detention. Apparently someone cracked the mirror in the washroom and noon fessed up, so they all went down together. Drunk with a few friends walking through the docks/trendy bar area and see an industrial building with a tantalizingly easy to climb up to roof. We climb up on the roof. They recycle plastic. Someone reports burglars on the roof because recycled plastic and trash must be a big target, and cops show up. I casually climb onto a tree that overhangs the roof and quickly pass out, and the cops don't see me. My friends don't rat me out. They get banned for life from a bar in a completely different area of the dock complex because the cops told them they caught them trying to cut a hole in the roof, burgle them. Utter bullshit. We were stargazing and drunk chatting. Anyway, I wake up a few hours later and ask why they left me up there, and I'm reminded of the whole cop thing and informed they weren't arrested but were banned from a bar. We went to the bar the next day to make a point. High school party. Girl decides to spread her legs and duck 12 guys in a room. I passed out before it happened. They all got chlamydia. One night quite a few years ago, one of my buddies threw a party with about 50 people. We were mostly all under 21 at the time and had a few other illegal substances as well. Soon enough, the cops show up. By the time they had opened the doors, I had found myself a nice tool bench to hide inside where the opening for the chair was. This was in the garage, and they also had black lights in, so it was difficult to see clearly. So the cops start to give people breathalyzers. All the while I'm crawled up in this little hole for hours. After about 2 hours, they finally load up the last wagon, and I think they pull away. I throw out my legs, which are completely asleep, and right after I hear the cops start heading back inside, I crawl back in as they started to take pictures and dump out the alcohol. The best part about this is that with the black lights, the flash from the camera gave better sight of the room. I have a friend that works in the police station that told me you can see me scrunched inside this little area in one of the pictures. The cops apparently weren't even angry, just laughed and said they were somewhat impressed. I'm the only one left from my group of 3 best friends since 3rd grade. First one hung himself because he was a pain pill addict, and I think the pressure of addiction and owing a lot of people money got to him. Ate a shit ton of Klonopins and hung himself on his mom's porch with a dog leash. My wife was dating him when I met her, and I always joke about it. When people ask how we met, I say she was dating my friend and I stole her, and when they ask if we are still friends, I get quiet and say he killed himself. Second one was a heroin addict. Wrecked his car bad when he nodded off and he lived. After getting home from the hospital, he shot up again and nodded off while eating cereal and joked. His mom found him blue in the face. He lived, but is a completely different person who will never be independent again. The third one just died recently. He was the most badass person ever. Had so much fun in a life he loved. He was that dude on your social media you lived vicariously through. Badass chicks every month. Awesome road trips to Mexico one week and Alaska the next. He loved living the biker life. I couldn't even cry when he died because he died doing what he loved. He had literally said to me that he would rather die on his bike than doing anything else. Anyway, this will probably be buried, but it felt good to write. I've been off drugs, except booze, for a while now, and my wife and I are really happy. Glad I made it out of that town alive. Definitely miss my brothers though. We had some great ducking times. Lollapalooza a few years back. Me and my one friend and about 10 other random kids were walking around the festival looking for a place to hop the fence and sneak in cause none of us bought tickets. We finally find an area where there are only a couple security guards. There was about a dozen of us that hopped this tall fence at the same time. Little did we know that the Chicago police security tent for the festival was right where we all hopped the fence. As soon as we hop the fence, about 8 cops come running out of nowhere, and at least half the group is on the ground with security holding them down immediately. This security firm had some athletic jacked types. The cops get the other 4 kids after about a 15-foot intense dash. I swear kids were getting tackled left and right. These cops and security were literally spearing kids into the ground and shoving their faces in the dirt. It was insane. Me and my one friend make it about another half a block and ran into another fence. This whole time 2 cops are chasing us. As we are hurdling the second fence, one cop grabs my arm and tried pulling me down, and I shimmied my way onto the other side. We see one more scalable fence and hop that too. At this point we realize we are backstage for Eminem, and we head into Tupac Capote's backstage for about 10 minutes to hear it. Just as the show is starting, we realize the cops have better things to do and probably quit searching for us. We head up the side stairs to Eminem and literally get on the side of stage. Nothing better than an adrenaline-filled sprint hopping multiple fences and making it on stage with Eminem for free. My friend's Southern Comfort pint didn't fall out of his pocket, so we had that to drink on. Nothing beats being 18 without a care in the world. It was like sneaking into prison. Please subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.